Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. I wanted to address another thing real quick. I know I've done a lot of talking today, I guess, because I just got back from Africa and I have a lot on my mind that I've been wanting to share. And these are things that kind of came to mind while I was traveling across the continent. I didn't travel across the continent, I was in South Africa and Botswana. If you haven't been to Botswana or South Africa, you really got to go. I've also been to Nigeria. I love Nigeria as well. I suggest just learning all about the continent, just because Africa is a special place because that's one of the places where we are no longer in the minority. You don't have to be outnumbered everywhere you go. There is a place you can go where where you are embraced by society. Everybody isn't going to love you in Africa just because you're black, but they're not going to hate you just because you're black, which is one of the things that I think makes Africa a little bit better than America. And one of the things I've been seeing in terms of the trends of racism in America is that America is fast becoming the most racist country in the world. We actually incarcerate more black men than any country on the planet. We actually incarcerate more black men in America today than South Africa did during the height of apartheid. Michelle Alexander, who's a friend of mine, wrote in her book, The New Jim Crow, that there are more black men in prison today than there were in slavery in 1850. In fact, black men are the most incarcerated group of people on the planet, particularly poor black men. So America has a lot of social problems, and that's one of the reasons why I've actually thought about myself relocating, if not for a short period of time, maybe permanently. I don't know. But don't worry, I'm not going anywhere because the internet is everywhere. So I could literally be living in outer space and still be talking to you. So as I heard in a rap song, ain't a damn thing changed, or ain't a damn thing gonna change. I'm still gonna be here. Now I wanted to talk to you real quick about. Speaking of rappers, actually, I think that that verse I just spit was from Ti, who's actually a really talented rapper. Some people have this conversation where they ask, they talk about rappers using the N word. And it's really come up a lot lately because in the University of Oklahoma, you had that whole incident where the white boys were on camera saying, there'll never be a nigger in SAE. And then the rapper Waka Flocka Flame said he's not going to perform. And people say, well, how can you be outraged that they use the N word when you use the N word in your music? Because he actually does have a song called Young Niggas with Gucci Mane. And it does create this interesting what appears to be hypocrisy, but maybe it's not so much hypocrisy when you really look at it. At the very least, I'm not trying to tell you what your opinion should be, but I'm going to lay some facts out, some things out for you to kind of think about, just how all this looks, how all this works. What really is going down here. Excuse me. First and foremost, I think that when we talk about the language that rappers can use toward us, excuse me, versus the language that other people can use toward us. I think that we have to really think carefully about, who's playing on whose side. What does it mean to have self-respect? I argue that people will tend to respect you the way that you respect yourself. They'll tend to see you the way you see yourself. So if you constantly go around saying, my name is Joe, my name is Joe, my name is Joe, you can't really get mad if somebody says, hey, Joe, right? So if I'm going around and I'm a rapper and I'm saying, nigga this, young nigga that, I'm a nigga, you a nigga, we all niggas, you know, I don't know how I can feel if a white kid comes up and says, what's up, my niggas? Right? Because in many cases, those white kids are not racist. They're not saying it in a racist context. They're saying it as fans of Waka Flocka Flame. So the SAEs, and that's the funny thing too, right? On one hand, they're singing about hanging black people from trees and there'll never be a nigger in SAE. But on the other hand, they were about to pay Waka Flocka Flame thousands of dollars to come and perform. That also gives you some insight into how rappers, or particularly, or black people in the culture of hip hop has been bastardized and hijacked by corporate America and made turned from something beautiful into something very destructive. And it's also to the point where for many of these white folks, for these white boys, I think they see it as a minstrel show. It's like, we're really fascinated with the hood culture. We love the fact that you guys are gangsters. We love hearing you talk about killing black people. We love hearing you talk about, call yourself niggas. We love hearing you degrade yourself and degrade your own people, because I'm sure as hell ain't gonna do it. I'm Jewish. If I'm Jewish, I'm not Jewish for real, but I'm saying hypothetically, if I'm Jewish, then and I say some stuff like that, my community will hang me by my balls. They're not gonna let me go and talk about Jewish people the way you guys talk about yo niggas. That's not gonna happen in my community, but I love it when it happens in yours. So I think that to some extent we have to really think about the hookerization of rappers and how this beautiful form of entertainment, hip hop, which came out of the South Bronx during one of the worst economic and social periods in American history, and literally went out to influence the world. And I think that there are a lot of great rappers in New York like KRS-One, Chuck D, Immortal Technique, who might agree with some of what I'm saying. I can't speak for them, but they might agree with some of what I'm saying because they sort of see how they were pushed away from the mainstream and they were replaced by ignorant coons, just people that have no respect for black people. They will do anything for money. They will call themselves anything for money. They will disrespect you, disrespect your family, disrespect your kids. They want to murder your son. They have no love for their community whatsoever, and they trade all that in because they're whoring themselves every inch of the way in order to make another dollar. So at that point, you have no dignity, you have no self-respect. So the question is, how can you even expect anybody, the white man or anybody else, to respect you when you don't even respect yourself? When you're willing to sell out for anything, any crumb that the white man throws at you, then he's not going to look at you as a man. He's going to look at you as a pathetic little boy. Now let's talk about a little bit about white supremacy and how that works. I think that a lot of people sort of have this perception that black people, that we are only victims of white supremacy. That white supremacy is a reflection of the thinking of whites, and it is imposed upon black people who know all the answers, who get everything right. And I just don't think that's true. I know that's not true. White supremacy does not just affect the thinking of white people; it affects the thinking of black people. Not only do white people see black people as being inferior, many black people see black people as being inferior. Many black people, because they don't understand, for example, as I was talking about the possibilities that exist in Africa and other countries or other continents, or sorry, Africa is a continent. We know that. When I say the countries of Africa and other places around the world, because they don't see those opportunities, they tend to see themselves locked in a situation where the only way I can get ahead economically or otherwise, the only way I can get my dignity is to go through the white man. So I need to give him whatever he wants so that I can have an opportunity to feel like a whole and complete human being. And I think that's a very dangerous type of thinking to embrace because, when you're allowing your oppressor to control your access to your dignity, to your humanity, to your self-esteem, to your economic prosperity, when you're allowing your oppressor to feed your children, to educate your family, then you're pretty much committing yourself to the psychological prison that was built for you before the day you were born. And so when we talk about white supremacy, we have to get past this idea that we have black victims and white perpetrators. Sometimes we have black perpetrators and white perpetrators working together to oppress black people or to disrespect the way we're seen throughout the world. That's where Lee Daniels comes from, the idiot who made the show Empire. Again, now mind you, now here's the thing. Here's how warped my thinking can be, or here's how I think. I watched the show Empire. I thought it was actually a brilliant show. So when I call Lee Daniels an idiot, I'm really calling him an idiot because I don't think he has much self-respect. I remember hearing him say that he'd be willing to sell out, basically to the white man in order to get his movie into theaters. I've heard him say, when he said, he went in front of a crowd of white people, said, I'm a little Euro, a little homo, and a little ghetto. I didn't like that. I've heard him say other things that really bothered me. I've seen the kinds of movies he's made. So when I say idiot, actually to be more precise, I really want to say mentally disturbed human being. But at the same time, the show's good. I understand exactly why people like it. I mean, when I say the show's good, what I mean is the cinematography is excellent. The storytelling is exactly what people want. If you're not concerned with the use of media as a form of propaganda to promote disturbing imagery of black people, the same imagery that leads to white people hating you or leads to white people thinking that your son deserves to be shot because he's a thug. Well, if you don't understand how all that works, then you're going to love the show. It's almost like when they would feed people liquor that has paint thinner in it, right? Maybe the paint thinner makes it taste better. It makes the alcohol more potent. So they drink. They don't realize that it's frying their brain. It might paralyze them. It might destroy their internal organs. They're not thinking about that because they're thinking about the high that they're receiving at that moment. So sometimes entertainment is the same way. If you're focused so much on the high you're receiving at that moment, then you don't have the ability to think about the long-term implications of what you're consuming and what you're bringing in. Understand, when you meet all these white people out here in the world who hate you, when you see all these white people who support cops who shoot black men down on the street, ask yourself, where does that hate come from? How does a white man who's never been around black people his whole life, never lived around black people, don't got no black friends, how does he learn how to hate black people that much? How does he learn how to fear black people? Well, it comes from media. He has to learn it somewhere. It comes from media and maybe from his own family. Those are the two places where, I mean, because there's no school, there's no special school that white people go to learn how to hate black people. No, media has always, for a very long time, been used as a form of propaganda in order to convince white people that you ain't nothing but an animal, a thug, a monster. At best, you can be a gangster or whatever. So that's what I'm seeing when I see Empire, and that's why I say at the end of the day, I treat Empire. I look at Empire like the way you look at the way a person trying to be healthy might look at a chocolate cake. They might say, "Man, that cake looks so good. I want to just tear that sucker up, and I might even take a little bit of bite, a little bitty bite myself." But if I eat that whole cake, I'm gonna get so fat. I'm gonna be so unhealthy. My cholesterol's gonna be high. I'm gonna get heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and I'm gonna be dead. So as much as I can understand why you want to eat that cake, I'm at the very least gonna tell you, look, do what you want, but I'm not gonna eat the cake. So that's how I see Empire. That clears my point of view, and I think it's important to really lay that out there because I hear a lot of people have misinformation. Don Lemon was on Tom Joyner saying that my objection was due to homophobia and all this other stuff. I don't pay attention to that crap. I think Don Lemon's an idiot too, for the most part. If you watch him on CNN regularly, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The brother, he's I keep using the word idiot. Let me clarify that a little bit more too. Don Lemon is not a dumb person, but Don Lemon is a little bit of a clown. He's a little bit of a, I'd say almost like a diva, a little bit self-absorbed. He really kind of needs to be in a place where he can be like a black Bill O'Reilly, as opposed to trying to be a respected journalist. Because I think a lot of journalists don't respect him because of the way he conducts himself on the air. So anyway, moving on. Now, when you talk about hip hop and you talk about black people being called niggas and whether or not that's acceptable, et cetera, et cetera. I get a lot of pushback on this. I have people that really understand where I'm coming from and really say, yes, go. I'm glad you're saying this. I'm tired of this, et cetera. But then you have some black people who say, no, 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 this isn't right. Dr. Watkins, you're getting it wrong. You're attacking these brothers and da-da-da-da. And I think that's silly. I know a lot of rappers. I love hip hop. That's all I've ever listened to my whole life for the most part. So don't try in any way. You can't paint me as an outsider to hip hop because I don't try to talk too much about things that I haven't thought about or tried to understand. But here's the thing, when you're hearing this music and you're hearing nigga, 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 and people say, someone said to me the other day, they said, well, rappers don't say kill that nigga the way they did in the SAE song when they were saying hang a nigga from a tree. Well, actually, no, there are songs like that. Literally, there's a song by Lil Wayne called Gunwalk where he goes down the list and he says smoke that nigga, shoot that nigga, put a toe tag on that nigga. I mean, so the idea of saying kill a nigga, that's not something that just white people say. That's something that I've heard black rappers say. And the words kill that nigga should not sound less harmful if they're being recited by a black person. You see, we have to get past the politics of colorism where we somehow believe that our enemy cannot also have a black face. Sometimes your greatest adversary can look just like you because that's how he sneaks past your enemy lines. That's how he sneaks in and infiltrates into your mind or into your space of influence because he says, hey, I'm black like you, brother. I'm good. We're on the same team. And if you don't vet that, if you don't really look at the content of a person's character as opposed to simply being fixated on the color of their skin, you're going to miss 99.9% of the racism that exists in America. And the other thing about this music, this stuff we're hearing on the radio, which has gotten just so stupid and ignorant and dumb down and it's such propaganda, it's unimaginable how deep this is. This ain't black music. This is not for black people. This is not created by black people. These companies are run by whites and Jews. These whites and Jews that are pushing this message, this kill a nigga message, this stay high and drunk message, this whole message that glorifies black male criminality, staying high and drunk, sexual promiscuity, irresponsible sexual promiscuity. I mean, having sex is one thing. People do it. I don't care about that. I'm talking about irresponsible sexual promiscuity. And these very poor choices amongst young black men, this imagery of young black men that many of them absorb, and cause them to become a shadow of who they're meant to be. Most of those images are created by people who would never allow those images to be thrust on their own communities. This music was created. It's using black people to create music that's financed by white people to be sold to other white people. So to some extent, it's almost like a circus where you have a white male trainer who trains the elephant to perform for other white people. Do you understand? And you're the elephant. You're the animal being trained. And if you look at the way America looks at the black man, it's not that much different from the way a trainer looks at an elephant. If an elephant is trainable and he does what he's supposed to do, and he gives him, he eats his peanut and he goes and walks and stands on one leg and does all these amazing tricks, then everybody claps. Everybody's happy because the trainer's making money, the audience is pleased, and they love seeing this elephant do these nice little tricks. But when the elephant gets out of line, the elephant says, "No, I want to be free," or "I'm going to fight the trainer because this is nonsense. I don't want to be in chains all day. I don't want to be disrespected like this. I'm not here for your entertainment. I deserve to be out in the wild and to be free. I deserve to fulfill my own destiny." Then they shoot the elephant down because the elephant has effectively become a troublemaker. So sometimes an elephant that's too smart or too independent is an elephant that needs to be put down. Well, that's exactly how a lot of America sees the black male. The black male is a wonderful source of entertainment for white people when we are well trained, like that elephant. When you see, for example, a black professional athlete like a Michael Jordan, who says everything white people want to hear, who does what white people want him to do, who goes out on the court and performs these amazing athletic feats that he's been trained to do, then the white people who own him, the team owners, are making money, and the audience claps because they love it. But when he becomes like Ron Artest, who jumps out in the stands and says, "You're not going to throw a beer on me, I'm going to punch you in your face," then they put him down. And you remember when Ron Artest got out of line, they punished him just like an animal. They gave him one of the worst suspensions humanly imaginable because they were trying to send a message. When Latrell Sprewell went off a few years ago on his coach PJ Carlissimo, and he choked him in practice because Carlissimo was disrespecting him, they gave Latrell Sprewell one of the longest suspensions that had ever been given in the NBA, because when an animal gets out of line, you put him down, you send a clear message to the other animals. If you get out of line too, this is what's going to happen to you. So understand that this is not, when you're defending hip hop, when you're defending people who get on the radio who talk about murdering your child, when you defend people who want to call you a nigger in every other sentence, you're not defending black people. You're not defending blackness. You're not defending black culture. You're defending something created by whites, manipulating black people and selling that to other whites. When that black man goes on the stage and he calls himself a nigger 1,000 times and all the white people in the audience cheer, white people are typically the only ones that can afford the tickets to the concerts. White people are the ones who are buying the albums. There's a fascination they have with black people and hood culture and all this other ridiculous stuff. So the last point I want to make on this is this. A lot of people act like you have to make a choice. That either you are going to confront the SAEs for their racism and deal with them, and let hip hop off the hook, let commercialized hip hop, white control commercialized hip hop off the hook, or you have to attack hip hop culture or white commercialized hip hop culture, which is very different from real hip hop, and you attack hip hop, and you feel that somehow that deflects from the accountability of the bigots at the University of Oklahoma for the things that they said. I'm not joining either camp. I don't feel that you have to make a choice. You can still confront hip hop and say, "Look, stop calling black people niggas. Stop giving messages to black men that are going to destroy their lives. Stop, creating imagery that is reflective of us being people that we're really not. Stop telling white people that we're kill a gangster thug so that that cop is going to be so afraid of us that he guns us down without even thinking about it. Stop doing that." And we're not just talking to you, the rapper. We're talking to the record label that owns you. We're talking to your master. We're not talking to just the puppet. We're talking to the puppet master. Stop doing that. You can say that and still turn to the SAEs, turn to the University of Oklahoma, and say, if you up here singing about hanging black people from trees, we're going to come after your ass. We're not going to let you talk about our people that way. We're not going to let you get away with this white boy privilege that has allowed you to escape accountability for every hateful, murderous thing that you've done to black people over the last 400 years. We're going to come after you. We're not going to let you do that to us. And then at the same time, you also talk to the university and you say, why have you created an environment in which you have white kids in your space who think that this language is acceptable? What are the structural factors that lead to this sort of thinking that allows this young white boy who's 20 years old? I mean, he don't know nothing. He probably doesn't even know the depth of what he's saying, to be honest with you, especially if he's drunk. A drunk 20-year-old kid is not usually gonna be the most thoughtful human being on the planet. It doesn't mean he doesn't deserve to be accountable for what he says. Absolutely, he should. But he's 20 years old and he's drunk. I mean, so to some extent, he's going to be a product of the thinking of the people who raised him. He's going to be a product of the thinking of the people who educated him. He's going to be a product of the thinking of the people who made him the man that he is right now. So if you don't address the deeper issue and you just address what they said, that one moment and those particular words, then you're going to miss the majority of really what's happening here. You're missing the entire dynamic. So I encourage you. This is just my humble opinion, something I want to leave you with. When you go into these debates, don't feel that somehow you have to let all of this stupid shit on the radio off the hook just so you can challenge the racism of the guys in this fraternity. That's not true. You don't have to let this nonsense off the hook, because a lot of what we're seeing in hip hop right now is ridiculous. A lot of rappers are speaking out about this. D1, I did a great interview with the rapper D1 from New Orleans. Oh man, that guy, you gotta hear him. You gotta support him. He's saying it exactly the way I think it needs to be said. He's an intelligent brother in terms of understanding the impact that this music has on people. Media has a huge impact on people. That's why corporations spend billions of dollars trying to sell things to you or running commercials in front of you and whatever. It's because these things have matter. These things impact the way people think. So you can't tell me that a rapper can put out a song calling black people niggas left and right and talking about getting high and drunk every day and black men killing each other and not have that have an impact and an influence on the way everyone thinks about black people. It influences the way black people think about themselves. It influences the way white people think about us when they are dealing with us. So at the end of the day, we can't let that nonsense continue. It is one of the most hateful, most destructive forms of propaganda in human history. It is racist. I don't care if the rapper is black. If music is talking about killing your children, that's racist music. That's genocidal music. So stop thinking that racism can only come from a white man, because not in so many cases the manifestations of racism that I witness in my own life come from other black people, and that's an unfortunate reality, but I think it's the truth. Well, anyway, I want to hear what you have to say, so feel free to leave comments, leave opinions. By the way, we got a film coming out that I hope you will check out from Your Black World Films. It is called Resurrecting Black Wall Street. It is a great, compelling commentary about what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. It's a story that every black child in America needs to know, but it also goes deeper in terms of talking about how we resurrect those ideals that led to the creation of one of the most economically prosperous black communities in American history. How do we restructure this thinking that led to the cooperative economics that truly allowed these black people to have some degree of liberation that many of us do not have today? So that's why I made this film. I didn't make it all by myself. We had a bunch of people that were involved, but I hope you'll check it out and I hope you'll support it. And the reason I ask you to support it is because this money that we get from you, we are applying it right back into the community. We are hiring black people. We are pushing forward with the creation of independent black media. We are not, like many other outlets, we are not controlled by some big overseer behind us, some big corporation like NBC or something like that, who's telling us what to do and paying our bills and all that stuff. We don't do that. We want to be totally independent so we can say the things that you're not going to hear in mainstream media. So I hope you'll be a part of this, and to the extent that you are already, I want to say thank you so much, and I love you. I really appreciate you beyond words. So I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Please take care. God bless. I am gone. Peace.